Hello, my name is Brian Cronin. I'm very pleased to welcome you to this tutorial Patent Claim Analysis 2015, which is based on the claim analysis questions of the European Qualifying Examination Pre-Exam 2015. To follow this tutorial, you need the 2015 EQE Pre-Exam, Claim Analysis Questions 11 to 20. You need also the examiner's report. You can download these from the EPO website under Learning and Compendium. If you prefer to read in French or German, you can do so, but I will be continuing the tutorial in English. It may also be handy if you have a copy of the Guidelines Part F, which is a source for claim analysis situations in the pre-exam. So if you have a copy at hand, it could be useful. Let's now go straight to the client's description. You have to read the client's description in order to be able to answer the questions, of course. If you are not already familiar with the client's description, I suggest you pause the slideshow now and read it. Let's nevertheless skim through the description together as a revision. Paragraph 1 of the description says that the invention relates to fire protection doors, which sets the scene for the tutorial. Paragraph 2 contains a detailed definition of a fire protection door that you need to be familiar with. Paragraph 3 states that prior fire protection doors have metal casings with thermally insulating material, and paragraph 4 sets out the drawbacks of the prior metal casings. Paragraph 5 states that an object of the invention is to overcome the given drawbacks. Paragraph 6 states that an inventive aspect is that the door leaf has a plate made of solid wood resistant to bending. Paragraph 7 states that wood is flammable, but surprisingly, a thick plate of wood withstands fire for some time, and it has a heat insulating effect. Paragraph 8 states that the plate has to be thick enough, at least 8 centimeters thick, for it to be suitable for fire protection. That is the wood plate. Paragraph 9 preferably uses wood watered to contain moisture that is released and evaporates. Paragraphs 10 to 13 introduce the figures. Figure 1, which is shown on the right of the slide, shows a sectional view of a fire protection door. Below the figure, I have indicated the names of the various parts of the shown in the drawing. I do this by habit, especially from paper A drafting, where it is necessary to write down the names of the elements in order to become quickly familiar with the terminology in order to draft claims. But this is not so necessary in the pre-exam to write down the names of the different elements. Paragraph 14 states then, paragraph 14 states that a door leaf for fire protection has an inner core plate 2 of solid oak, and the thickness is at least 8 centimeters, and it must be 10 centimeters for other types of wood. Paragraph 15 states that both major surfaces A and B of the plate preferably are at least partially covered by covering layers. Paragraph 16 states that the plate is partially covered by metal layers, preferably aluminium layers, and the melting of the aluminium layer helps to keep the temperature low on the face away from the fire. Paragraph 17, turning over the page in the client's letter, states that when a door leaf is used, it pivoted to a door frame 8, it can have a step 7, which you can see in the drawing, and it says that stepped door leaf is not suitable for sliding doors. I turn over now on the slide for figure 2, which is the first embodiment of the invention. You can see the hinges 13 about which the door pivots. It says that in paragraph 18, the door leaf is pivoted and the door closer 12, which is the thing at the top, urges the step door leaf into the closed position, which seems to be important for fire protection doors. And then we'll turn over to figure 3, which is the second embodiment of a sliding fire protection door that you can see from the arrow 22. And paragraph 19 says roughly that the door closer 23, which is a weight, biases the sliding door leaf 1B to the closed position, which is illustrated. There again, biasing the door to the closed position seems to be important for fire protection doors. And that brings us, paragraph 19, brings us to the end of the client's description. If you read the client's description, it's going to take you a few minutes, but of course these few minutes will be well invested in order to become familiar with the subject. Before we go into the questions, first we'll overlook our working method. First, we'll contemplate the statements for each question with the respective claims. Then we'll allow a short time for you to make up your mind whether each statement is true or false. Then we'll check the answers so you will know if you're right or wrong. Next, we'll consult the detailed explanations in the examiner's report that should put you on the right lines if you went wrong and should consolidate your reasoning if you gave the correct answer. And lastly, I'll make some comments of my own, and then we'll proceed to the next question. So let's start by going to question 11, which is about clarity and support. I suggest we take its 4 statements 2 by 2. So here we have statements 11.1 and 11.2. We have a claim A, and we have 2 statements about claim A. Claim A reads as follows: door leaf in a fire protection door, wherein the door leaf comprises a solid wood plate having a thickness of 5 centimeters or more, and you are asked whether the following statements are true or false. 11.1, claim A clearly defines that protection is sought for a door leaf independently of a door frame and a door closer. This is about clarity of the claim. The question is to know whether the claim covers the door leaf alone or the door leaf as part of a fire protection door. So make up your mind and say true or false. We'll check later. The second statement, 11.2, is claim A is supported by the description. Now, to answer this question, you need to consult the description to find out whether the description provides an adequate basis for claim A that we've just seen. Make up your mind whether the statement is true or false. Then we'll turn to statements 11.3 and 11.4, and then we'll come to the answers. Questions 11.3 and 11.4 are about whether claim B or claim C meets the requirements of Article 84 EPC. Claim B reads, door leaf for a fire protection door, the door leaf having a step at an edge region wherein the step matches with a step in a door frame. And claim C reads, fire protection door for a door leaf, a door frame, fire protection door comprising a door leaf, a door frame, and a door closer, wherein the door leaf comprises a plate made of solid wood. And the statements that you are asked to reply true or false. 11.3, claim B meets the requirements of Article 84 EPC, and statement 11.4, claim C meets the requirements of Article 84 EPC. You are, of course, expected to know that Article 84 EPC specifies 3 conditions. A claim must be clear, concise, and supported by the description. All 3 conditions must be fulfilled. So you have to consider if each claim meets up to these 3 requirements and answer true or false. Then we'll consult the answers from the examiner's report straight away. Here now are the answers from the examiner's report. Statement 11.1 is false, and I add the comment, claim A is not clearly limited to a leaf. Statement 11.2 is false. Claim A is not supported by the description. Statement 11.3 is false. Claim B does not meet the requirements of Article 84 EPC, and likewise 11.4 is false. Claim C does not meet the requirements of Article 84 EPC. Now, did you get all 4 answers correct? Good. Did you make any mistakes? We'll see about that now on the next slide, where we're discussing what to do if your answers were right or wrong. If your answer was right, I would like you to consolidate your understanding by going through the details from the examiner's report that we'll come to in a minute. If you guessed the answer, the right answer, but you don't know what the basis is, going to the examiner's report is going to help you to figure out why your answer was correct. If your answer was wrong, it could be that you didn't know the meaning of the law, so you can learn by correcting your mistake. It could be that you didn't understand what you were supposed to do, so you can learn by understanding better. And it could be that you put in an inverted answer. In other words, you made the correct analysis but gave the wrong or the opposite answer, true instead of false. So be careful. In all EQE, in all of the EQE, all mistakes are penalized. Let's go now to the examiner's report and explanations. Here for questions 11.1 and 11.2. 11.1 or statement 11.1 is false, and the examiner's explanation is as follows. The expression in inverted commas in claim A makes it unclear whether protection sought is limited to the door leaf per se, or whether the whole fire protection door with the door leaf is claimed. See also the guidelines F Roman 4 4.15. Note the guidelines reference. If you're not familiar with the guidelines reference, look it up now or when you finish the exercise. Note that according to the guidelines, most wordings in inverted commas in A are unclear, but there are some exceptions. 11.2 now was the statement. 11.2 was also false, and the examiners explain. According to the description, paragraph 8, the wood material of the solid wood plate must be thick enough. The minimum thickness for solid oak wood is 8 centimeters. When using any other type of solid wood, the thickness must be at least 10 centimeters. See paragraph 14. Hence, the thickness is an essential feature of the invention. Since Claim A claims a door leaf in a fire protection door comprising a solid wood plate having a smaller thickness as required by the description, Claim A is not supported by the description. Now we turn to 11.3. The examiner's explanation for statement 11.3 being false is as follows. Claim B is directed to a door leaf per se, wherein a step of the door leaf is defined such that it shall match with a step in a door frame, which however is not part of the claim. Many different sizes and forms of step are possible, hence the size or the form of the door leaf is not defined in Claim B, but is dependent from another entity that is not part of Claim B. See also the guidelines F Roman 4 4.14. Hence, Claim B is not clear and does not fulfill the requirements of Article 84 EPC. Once again, note the guideline reference and look it up now or when you finish the exercise. The examiner's reasoning for statement 11.4 being false is as follows. Claim C is directed to a fire protection door comprising a door leaf that comprises a plate made of solid wood. As the claim does not specify the thickness, an essential feature for achieving the fire protection property is missing. Guidelines F Roman 4 4.5. Hence, Claim C contravenes Article 84 EPC. Note once again the guideline reference, and if you're not familiar with it, look it up. Next, my comments and explanations on the examiner's report for question 11. Just a little revision of Article 84 EPC specifies 3 fundamental requirements for the claims of a European application: clarity, conciseness, and support by the description. Questions 12.1 and 12.3 illustrate that clarity is judged mainly from the point of view of knowing exactly what is covered by or excluded from the claim, in other words, the claim scope. Questions 12.2 and 12.4 illustrate that if a claim omits a feature described as essential, the claim is not supported. For the third requirement of Article 84, which is conciseness, this is not a big deal and is rarely a ground of refusal unless you have something like a 200-page long description. Next, we go to question 12. The client proposes a claim for question 12, reading as follows. Door leaf for a fire protection door, wherein the door leaf comprises a plate containing wood fibres, wherein A, the plate is a solid wood plate, B, the plate has a thickness of 8 centimeters or more, C, the plate is watered to contain moisture, D, each major surface of the plate is fully covered with an aluminium sheet, and E, the door leaf is configured such that it can be closed by a door closer. So that's the claim for question 12. Then the examiners say, considering the invention, its effects and advantages as given in the description, you have to answer whether the following statements are true or false. So statement 12.1 is feature B, which is the plate thickness, is an unnecessary limitation on the scope of the claim. Statement 12.2, feature C, which is the watering feature, is an unnecessary limitation on the scope of the claim. 12.3, feature D, which is covering with an aluminium sheet, is an unnecessary limitation on the scope of the claim. And statement 12.4 is feature E, which is the configuration of the door leaf for closing by a door closer, is an unnecessary limitation on the scope of the claim. To answer these questions, we need to check if the respective feature is described as essential or optional. You have to check the description for this. For the thickness, if you're not familiar with the description, you may want to look in paragraphs 8 and 14. For the watering feature, you may want to look in paragraph 9. For the fully covering, you may want to look in paragraph 16. And for the door closer, you may want to look in paragraphs 2 and 18. When you've looked up those paragraphs, make up your mind whether each statement is true or false, and then we'll straight away go to the answers and check the answers for question 12 with the examiner's report. So over we go, and here are the answers. Statement 12.1 is false. Feature B is a necessary limitation, the thickness. 12.2, statement 12.2 is true. Feature C, which is the watering feature, is an unnecessary limitation. 12.3 is true. Feature D, coverage by aluminium, is an unnecessary limitation. And 12.4 is false. Feature E, the configuration of the door leaf to be closed by the door closer, is not an undue limitation. Next slide then. Here we now have the explanations given in the examiner's report. Starting with 12.1, statements 12.1, which says a solid wood plate is present in all embodiments of the invention. Also, general statements such as in paragraph 6 refer to a solid wood plate to overcome the drawbacks of the prior art as referred to in paragraph 4. For a solid wood plate, the description states in paragraphs 8 and 14 that a minimum thickness of 8 centimeters or more is essential for the function of the fire protection door. Hence, feature B is not an undue limitation of the scope of the claim. 12.2 is true. The examiners say a watered solid wood plate is mentioned as a preferred embodiment only. See paragraph 9. We preferably use wood that is watered. Hence, feature C is an undue limitation of the scope of the independent claim. Note that the answers depend on the statements in the description. If the description had said that 8 centimeters was a preferred minimum thickness and watering was essential, the answers would of course be the opposite. Let's now turn to the explanation for 12.3. The examiners say 12.3 is true. A covering with metal layers is mentioned in paragraph 16, but only with reference to a preferred embodiment. A covering by an aluminium sheet is even more specific. Considering the invention and its function as indicated in the description, it is not necessary to limit the claim by feature D. And 12.4 is false. The examiners say a door closer is part of any fire protection door, see paragraph 3, and is implicitly mentioned by the term fire protection door. Since a door closer is present in any fire protection door, a door leaf for a fire protection door must be suitable to be closed by a door closer. Feature E is not an undue limitation of the scope of protection. Note that for 12.3, like 12.2, the feature, which was in this case full covering, was stated as preferred and therefore would be an unnecessary limitation. For 12.4, I think we could have said that the door closer is configured such that it can be closed by a door closer. The door is configured such that it can be closed by a door, does not limit the door leaf any more than its implied function. Next, some comments. Comments about essential features and inessential features. We saw in 12.1 and 12.3 that claim features can be made essential or optional according to the way they're described in the description. When you are drafting a description, be careful not to describe a feature as essential unless that feature is in the main independent claim and you intend it to stay there. In drafting for EQE paper A, you do not have the detailed description pre-prepared, but the client's letter includes a lot of guidance, for example, by saying that features are preferred or optional or are essential. So use the client's guidance for the essential and optional features to distribute the features between the main independent claim and the dependent claims. Next, some more comments. This is about inherent features. The examiner's report for 12.4 mentions that a door closer is implicit for a door leaf. In my opinion, my experience, implicit features are difficult to handle. When you are drafting, you may have difficulty in deciding whether certain, in inverted commas, essential features are to be included in a main claim or left out because they are implicit. In paper A mechanical, the EQE examiners tend to favor claims where you leave out features that could be regarded as implicit so that you come to the broadest possible claim scope. On the other hand, in real-life practice with EPO examiners and opponents, they tend to ignore implicit features and go for a broad interpretation that could force you, if you're defending, to explicitly claim the implicit features. Thus, In prosecution, everyday prosecution, implicit features of a claim tend to lead to objections that can be overcome by explicitly claiming the feature. In summary, implicit features are a source of problems in real-life drafting, but may be acceptable to EQE examiners in Paper A, as suppressing implicit features leads to the broadest and most concise claim, but also fragile claims. Let's now turn to the claim set that is going to be used for claims 13 to 16. For the situation for questions 13 to 16 is that the claim set with claims 1.1 to 1.10 has been initially filed with the patent application. We will come across these claims as they occur in the questions. The European Search Report cites prior art documents D1, D2, and D3. You have to answer various questions relating to these claims and or the cited prior art. So you may want to consult the set of claims given in the client's questions, and I will associate the respective claim with each question. We need to consult the cited documents, and for this we'll make a brief review. This is document D1. Let me find my document D1. I've put down the names of the parts on the drawing of D1. Here is the drawing. It's a metal door for a fire protection, metal door leaf for a fire protection door. You need to read D1 fully, and we'll skip through it together. D1 paragraph 1 relates to door leaves for fire protection door and states that they have to withstand fire for a sufficient time. Paragraph 2 shows a door for a hinged fire protection door, and although different metal materials can be used, steel is preferred, and steel has a melting point of 1300, which can withstand high temperatures. Paragraph 3 states that the box-like structure is filled with calcium silicate plate, which is made of cardboard containing calcium silicate, and the cardboard contains wood fibers distributed within the plate, and the calcium silicate evaporates in case of fire. The calcium silicate is also thermally insulating, and it says also that it is necessary to reduce the tendency to bend to provide a stiffening steel frame. That is in paragraph 3. So that's quite a lot of discussion in document D1, and we'll turn to have a glance at document D2. D2 is, let me get my papers straightened out. Document D2 is a vintage art journal, and you can see this ancient door. I've put down the names of the elements on the slide. There's a lot of rubbish in this document D2, but there are some interesting parts. The door is made of a single piece of wood having a minimum thickness of 8 centimeters and very heavy. It is supported by hinges that have metal bands that cover a large area of the wood plate. The door is provided with a ROC 205 on a cable for biasing the door to the closed position. And the last paragraph 2 says that there was a fire some time ago and the door withstood the fire very well, and it was burnt on the side away from the door. It was burnt on the fire side, but not remained intact on the other side. So that was the fact that it was from the 14th century is not terribly important. Let's go then to document D3. D3. We see the drawing of document D3. D3 is an emergency exit sliding door. Paragraph 1 says a door for an emergency exit, and it explains that people have to get out. Paragraph 2 explains that there are problems between pivoting doors and sliding doors, and there's special problems with sliding doors. Paragraph 3 says they have a solution for sliding doors, and they use a weight, which is 504, to bias the door to the fully open state. So for an emergency exit door, the door is biased to the open position. That's a panic handle 506. And the paragraph 4 of D3 says that the door is made of light, thin material such as cardboard, and it's only used as an emergency exit door, and layers of material such as aluminium or wood can be used as the outer surfaces. So they are the three prior art documents. Let's turn to questions 13.1 and 13.2. Here now we have the drawing of D1. Question 13 is about the novelty or not novelty of various claims over D1 or D2, that is question 3 and 13 in general. For questions 13.1, you have to answer 13.1. The subject matter of claim 1.4 is novel over D1. You see the drawing of D1. And 13.2, the subject matter of claim 1.6 is novel over D1. Let's just have a look at the claims. Claim 1.4 depends upon claim 1.1. Claim 1.1 is door leaf, wherein the door leaf comprises a plate including a material containing fibers, and 1.4 contains wherein the material of the plate is such that it delivers moisture when heated. And claim 1.6 depends upon claim 1.2. So claim 1.2 specifies that the fibers are wood fibers, and claim 1.6 adds that both major surfaces of the plate are covered by an aluminium layer. So for 13.1, we need to read the description of D1. Does D1's plate contain fibers? Does D1's material deliver moisture when heated? So consult D1 and make up your mind for claim 1.4. And for 13.2, we need to know, does D1's plate's material contain wood fibers? And are both major faces of D1's plate covered by an aluminium layer? So you need to go back to D1 again to check these various points. Once you've been to D1 and you've checked the points, make up your mind whether the statements are true or false, and then we'll pass to questions 13.3 and 13.4. For 13.3, the statement is the subject matter of claim 1.5 is novel over D2. We see the picture of D2 there. And for 13.4, the subject matter of claim 1.8 is novel over D2. Let's have a look at the claims. Claim 1.5 says wherein the plate is at least partially covered by a metal material, and 1.5 depends upon 1.2, which is wood fibers, and that depends upon 1.1, a plate including a material containing fibers. So for the first question, for claim 1.5, we need to know whether D2 has wood fibers and we need to know whether the plate is at least partially covered by a metal material. For claim 1.8 for 13.4, claim 1.8 defines the biasing means, and it says alternatives. Claim 1.8 depends upon claim 1.1, which is the door with material containing fibers, and biasing means, wherein the biasing means has a cable and a weight, or wherein the biasing means has a mechanical spring and a lever element. So for 13.4, you need to know if D2's plate includes fibers and whether it has a biasing means as defined in 1.8. Once you've made up your mind, we'll turn to the examiner's answers for questions 13. Here then are the answers. According to the examiners, 13.1 is false. Claim 1.4 is not novel over D1. 13.2 is true. Claim 1.6 is novel over D1. 13.3 is false. Claim 1.5 is not novel over D2. And 13.5 is also 0.4 is also false. Claim 1.8 is not novel over D2. Let's go to the examiner's explanations so you can check and consolidate or correct your answer. "13.1 is false," say the examiners, for the following reasons. D1 discloses in paragraph 3 a door leaf, metal door leaf 100, comprising a plate, calcium silicate plate 105, including a material, cardboard containing calcium silicate, containing fibers, wood fibers of the cardboard, wherein the material of the plate is such that it delivers moisture when heated. See paragraph 3. Water of the calcium silicate is released in case of fire. The subject matter of claim 1.4 is not new over D1. Um, 13.2 is true according to the examiners because further D1 discloses a metal door, and particularly a steel door, paragraph 2. However, the specific metal aluminium is not disclosed in D1. The subject matter of claim 1.6 is new over D1. Next, we go to 13.3 and 13.4. 13.3 is false for the following reasons according to the examiners. D2 discloses in the first paragraph and in the figure a door leaf plate 201 supported by hinges, wherein the door leaf comprises a plate 201, including a material containing fibers. Plate 201 is made of a piece of wood. See first paragraph of D2, and wood generally, I think they mean mainly, contains wood fibers. See the description of the application, paragraph 9. The plate 201 is at least partially covered by a metal material. See the figure and the first paragraph of D2. Metal bands 203 of the hinges 202 partially cover the plate 201 of the door. The subject matter of claim 1.5 is not new over D2. 13.4 is false according to the examiners. Further, D2 discloses a rock on a rock 205 on a cable or a rope 206, biasing the door to a closed position, and hence a biasing means having a cable and a weight. Since D2 discloses the first alternative of Claim 1.8, the subject matter of Claim 1.8 is not new over D2. Next, some comments on the examiner's report. Demonstration or demonstrating lack of novelty. Please notice the way the examiner's report demonstrates lack of novelty for 13.1 and 13.3. Here the claim wording is repeated and equated with the successive corresponding features of the prior art, making up a word-by-word equation. You should use the same technique when you attack a claim for lack of novelty in opposition paper C. Now let's discuss how to demonstrate when a claim is novel. To demonstrate novelty, it is, however, enough to show that one feature of the claim is missing from the prior art. Compare with statement 13.2, where the single feature of the claimed aluminium plate is different from a metal plate or a steel plate. In this case, in other words, to demonstrate novelty, you don't have to recite all of the common features, you can just point out the missing features. Next, some principles concerning lack of novelty as they are illustrated in question 13. Just note down these two principles. When an embodiment of a claim is made up of several elements in combination, to establish lack of novelty of the claim, a single piece of prior art must show all of the elements in combination, as was shown, for example, for 13.1. On the other hand, when the subject matter of a claim covers several embodiments, different embodiments, to establish lack of novelty of the claim, the prior art needs show only one of the embodiments, as was shown for 13.4. In other words, lack of novelty of just one embodiment of a claim is enough to invalidate the entire claim. Next, we go ahead with question 14.1. Here are the client's figures 2 and 3, which show the first and second embodiments. You may need to consult the client's description, paragraph 18 and paragraph 19, for the first and second embodiments. You are expected to answer true or false. 14.1. The first and second embodiments of the application fall within the scope of Claim 1.7. And here we have the claim. Claim 1.7 depends upon Claim 1.1. Claim 1.1 is a door leaf wherein the door leaf comprises a plate including a material containing fibers, and 1.7 adds, and a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. Where are the fibers? Where the biasing means? Claim 1.7 has a generic definition of biasing means. Make up your mind whether these embodiments fall under the scope of Claim 1.7. True or false, and we'll pass on to questions 14.2 and 14.3. For 14.2, the statement is the first embodiment of the application falls within the scope of Claim 1.8, and for statement 14.3, The second embodiment of the application falls within the scope of Claim 1.8. Claim 1.8 now depends upon Claim 1.1 and specifies a biasing means wherein the biasing means has a cable and a weight, or wherein the biasing means has a mechanical spring and a lever element. For 14.2, we should consult paragraph 18, the first embodiment. For 14.3, we should consult paragraph 19, the second embodiment. Do these embodiments fall within the scope of Claim 1.8? Claim 1.8 covers two alternatives. So make up your mind, true or false, and we'll turn to statement 14.4. Here the statement is, answer true or false, the second embodiment of the application falls within the scope of Claim 1.10, and Claim 1.10 adds to Claim 1.1, wherein the door leaf has a stepped edge. The stepped edge is discussed in the application paragraph 17. The second embodiment is a sliding door. Does the second embodiment have a stepped edge? Question mark. Make up your mind and state whether the second embodiment falls within the scope of Claim 1.10. Let's now turn to the answers and then to the examiner's report. So, statement 14.1 is true. The two embodiments are within Claim 1.7. Statement 14.2 is true. The first embodiment is within Claim 1.8. 14.3 is true. The second embodiment is within Claim 1.8. And 14.4 is false. The second embodiment is outside Claim 1.10. Now we'll go to the examiner's report to help you consolidate or understand what happened. Here now the examiner's report for statement 14.1 is true. The examiners state the first embodiment as shown in figure 2 and described in paragraph 18 relates to a hinged fire protection door having a door leaf 1A. The second embodiment, as shown in figure 3 and described in paragraph 19, relates to a fire protection door constructed as a sliding door. Both embodiments have a door leaf 1A, 1B, respectively. In paragraph 14 to paragraph 16, the general construction of a door leaf is described, which is applicable to both embodiments. The first and second embodiments each have a door closer, 1223, that biases the door leaf into the closed position, paragraph 18. Hence, the first and second embodiments of the application fall within the scope of Claim 1.7. Next, 14.2 and 14.3. 14.2 is true and 14.3 is true according to the examiners, who say, in the first embodiment, the door closer 12 has a mechanical spring 14 and a lever element 15. This falls under the scope of the second alternative of Claim 1.8. The second embodiment has a door closer including a cable 24 and a weight 25. This falls under the scope of the first alternative of Claim 1.8. Hence, both the first and second embodiments fall within the scope of Claim 1.8, and next is 14.4. Here the examiners say that 14.4 is false because the second embodiment relates to a sliding door. The description of the general construction of a door leaf in paragraph 17 mentions a door step, but only in connection with a door leaf 1A for a pivoting door, while a stepped door leaf 1A is not suitable for sliding doors. According to the description, the sliding door of the second embodiment cannot have a stepped door leaf. The second embodiment does not fall within the scope of claim 1.10. Now some comments of my own. Firstly, about generic claims and claims to alternative. Claim 1.7 is a generic claim. Biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. Claim 1.8 covers two alternative biasing means, wherein the biasing means has a cable and a weight, or wherein the biasing means has a mechanical spring and a lever element. The generic claim has a broader scope than the claim to alternatives because it includes unspecified further embodiments. In EQE drafting paper A, always where possible use a generic definition rather than claiming alternatives. This offers broader scope. In paper A, the client expects you to obtain the broadest scope possible. For example, in the 2014 mechanical drafting covering the nutcracker, the two support members were connected by rods or tubes, in other words, alternatives, that could be claimed as such as alternatives or covered by a generic term like elongated connecting elements. Always prefer the generic term for your main claim, and for the main dependent claims, you can claim the alternatives in a dependent claim following a generic claim. Next, statement 15.1. Here the statement is the subject matter of claim 1.9 is novel over D3. We have the picture of D3 on the right, and claim 1.9 is reproduced just below. Claim 1.9, wherein the door is a fire protection door, and claim 1.1 is wherein the door leaf comprises a plate including a material containing fibers. Claim 19 depends on claim 1 fibers and covers a fire protection door, therefore. Where are the fibers in D3? D3 is an emergency exit sliding door, but would or would it not protect against a fire? Make up your mind, true, novel, or false, not novel. 15.2 on the right-hand part of the slide, the statement is the subject matter of claim 1.6 is novel over D3, and claim 1.6 is reproduced below. Claim 1.6 depends upon claim 1.2, which is wood fibers, and claim 1.6 adds that both major surfaces of the plate are covered by an aluminium layer. So you have the combination of aluminium layer on the major surfaces and wood fibers plus the door leaf of claim 1.1. So you have to make up your mind whether the subject matter of claim 1.6 is novel over D3. When you've made up your mind, we will go to 15.3. Here, the subject matter of claim 1.8 is novel over D3. Now we have claim 1.8, which depends upon claim 1.1. Claim 1.8, I think we saw it before, is a door leaf according to claim 1.1, and the biasing means wherein the biasing means has a cable underweight, or wherein the biasing means has a mechanical spring and a lever element. Does D3 have biasing means? It seems it has biasing means. Make up your mind. And then we go to 15.4. The subject matter of claim 1.10 is novel over D3, and claim 1.10, the door comprising a door leaf of claim 1.1, wherein the door leaf has a stepped edge. So what does D3 say about a stepped edge, and what does the client's application say about stepped edges? Make up your mind whether the statement is true or false, and we'll turn to the answers according to the examiner's report. The answers are 15.1 is true, claim 1.9 is novel over D3. 15.2 is false, claim 1.6 is not novel over D3. 15.3 is false, claim 1.8 is not novel over D3. And 15.4 is true, claim 1.10 is novel over D3. Did you get the answers right or wrong? Let's check now with the examiner's report. So the examiners put 15.1 and 15.4 together because they're both dealing with novelty. And they say 15.1 is true, 15.4 is true. There is no disclosure in D3 that the sliding door could withstand a fire for a predetermined time. Further, the door leaf 501 is biased into the fully open state and not into the fully closed state as this is necessary for a fire protection door. Hence, there is no disclosure in D3 that the sliding door can be a fire protection door. Further, there is no disclosure for a stepped edge. The subject matters of claims 1.9, 15.1 and 1.10, 15.4 are novel over D3. On 15.1, the client's description says that door leaves for fire protection doors must withstand fire for a sufficient time wherein the side facing away from the fire must not become too hot. Now, that sort of language is the sort of language that would invite objection you may get from an EPO examiner based on the lack of clarity of relative terms with or without reference to the description. But there was a secondary factor. The door is biased open, so it can't be a fire protection door. So claim 1.9 is novel. As D3 has no stepped edge, claim 1.10 is novel, and the answer for 15.4 is also true. Next, the examiner's report for 15.2. 15.2 is false, said the examiners. D3 discloses a sliding door 500 having a leaf 501 wherein the door leaf 501 is made of a board containing fibers such as cardboard, paragraph 3. The board containing fibers is a plate. As indicated in D1, paragraph 3, cardboard comprises wood fibers. Hence, D3 implicitly discloses all the features of claim 1.1. Further aluminium layers can be used as the outer surface, paragraph 4, i.e. both of the major surfaces of the door are covered with aluminium layers. The subject matter of claim 1.6 is not novel over D3. This answer raises the issue of implicit disclosures, wood fibers, that we will discuss later. Next, statement 15.3. 15.3 is false. The sliding door 500 of D3 has a door leaf 501 comprising a plate of material comprising fibers and a cable 503 and a weight 504, biasing the door leaf 501 into the fully open state, paragraph 3, i.e. a biasing means for biasing the door leaf into a predetermined position. Hence, the first alternative of claim 1.8 is disclosed in D3, so that the subject matter of claim 1.8 is not novel over D3. It's enough, as we stated before, to disclose one of the alternatives to destroy the novelty of the claim. Next, some comments on the examiner's report for question 15.2. I have referred to this as the cardboard conundrum. Question 15.2 hinged around the question whether or not the, in inverted commas, board containing fibers such as cardboard, close inverted commas, of D3 contained wood fibers. If cardboard contained wood fibers, the claim is not novel and the answer is false. If cardboard does not contain wood fibers, the claim is novel and the answer would be true. D1 paragraph 3 states, the calcium silicate plate 108 is made of a cardboard that contains calcium silicate. The cardboard comprises wood fibers distributed within the plate 105. In the EQE, and that's a golden rule that you have to apply, especially in the opposition paper, you can use general knowledge, but only general knowledge that is presented in the facts of the paper. So in the present case, you can use the knowledge from D1 to interpret D3. However, this interpretation gave rise to some problems. One interpretation was that the term a cardboard implied that D1's particular type of cardboard contained wood fibers, whereas other types of cardboard did not. Therefore, cardboard as disclosed in D3 did not necessarily contain wood fibers, so the claim would be novel over D3. Another interpretation, which is compatible with the examiner's answer, is that D1's cardboard contained calcium silicate and also wood fibers, implying that D3's cardboard, like any cardboard, contained wood fibers. There was no evidence of a cardboard that did not contain wood fibers. It follows that the first interpretation was based on conjecture. If you came to the wrong interpretation, try and align yourself to the accepted explanation. Don't keep trying to justify your first interpretation. In other words, try and acknowledge that the examiner's explanation is also meritorious. Note that had the examiners wanted the opposite answer, they could have provided a factual basis in D1, for example, reading, the cardboard comprises wood fibers or cellulose fibers of another origin. Such statement would have justified the alternative interpretation. It was important to be correct on this cardboard wood fibers issue, as there's a carryover effect in question 17.3. Next is question 16, which deals with the allowability of amendments. We'll start with 16.1. Here is a statement you have to answer. The following amendments are allowable under Article 123, subparagraph 2 EPC. 16.1. a combination of claims 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4. Here are the claims. 1.1, a door leaf comprises a plate including a material containing fibers. 1.2, the fibers are wood fibers. 1.3, the plate is made of solid wood. 1.4, the material of the plate is such that it delivers moisture when heated. Obviously, the individual claim dependencies do not provide a basis for the overall combination. This means that you have to look in the client's description to see if there is a basis for the combination. In other words, fibers, wood fibers, solid wood, moisture delivery. You may want to put the slideshow on pause while you look this up. Have you made up your mind? True allowable, false unallowable. Then we go to 16.2. Again, the statement is the following amendments are allowable under Article 123(2) EPC. 16.2, a combination of claims 1.1, 1.8 and 1.10. 1.1 we've seen is material containing fibers. 1.8 is the biasing means described with the two alternatives, and 1.10 is the stepped edge. 1.8 and 1.10 both depend upon claim 1.1, but we have a basis for combining the biasing means and the stepped edge. Again, we have to consult the client's description this time to look for a basis for combining the stepped edge with the biasing means as defined. So look at the description, make up your mind, say true allowable or false unallowable, and we will go to question 16.3. Here it's the same question, and the combination of claims is 1.1, 1.7 and 1.10. Is it allowable to combine these claims? 1.7 is a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. That is a generic definition of the biasing means. And 1.10 is the stepped edge. Obviously, there must be some difference with the previous question. So make up your mind and we'll turn to 16.4. (16.4) is a slightly different question. Is the following amendment allowable under Article 123(2) EPC? An amendment of the dependency of Claim 1.5 to be dependent from Claim 1.1 instead of Claim 1.2. Claim 1.5 depends upon Claim 1.2, which depends upon Claim 1.1. In other words, we have a combination of metal material with wood fibers is already provided for, but is there a basis for a combination of a material containing fibers covered by a metal material? That is a combination of Claim 1 and Claim 5. Have you made up your mind? True, allowable, false, unallowable. Next, we look at the examiner's report for question 16. So for question 16, 16.1 is true. The combination of claims 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4 is allowable. 16.2 is false. The combination of claims 1.1, 1.8 and 1.10 is not allowable. 16.3 is true. The combination of claims 1.1, 1.7 and 1.10 is allowable. And 14.4 is false. Claim 1.5 cannot be made to depend upon claim 1.1. So how did you do? We'll start checking with the examiner's report on question 16.1. 16.1, said the examiner, is true. As indicated in paragraph 9 of the description, solid wood contains mainly wood fibers. Further, paragraph 9 discloses to water solid wood so that the wood fibers contain enough moisture and that the moisture is released in case of fire. Hence, paragraph 9 discloses a solid wood that releases moisture when heated. A combination of all of the features of claims 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 can be based on original claims 1.1 to 1.4 in combination with paragraph 9 of the description. In other words, the combination of the given claims, fibers, wood fibers, solid wood, released moisture when heated, is disclosed in paragraph 9, so the claim combination is based and complies with Article 1232 EPC. Now 16.2. The examiners say that statement 16.2 is false. As indicated in paragraph 17, a stepped door leaf is only possible in pivoting doors. However, a biasing means having a cable and a weight is only disclosed in paragraph 19 and in figure 3 in conjunction with the sliding door. Because of the first alternative of claim 1.8, a combination of 1.1, 1.8 and 1.10 would also claim a combination of a biasing means having a cable and a weight together with a stepped door leaf. Such combination is not originally disclosed. So in my own words, the combined features are fibers, biasing means, cable, weight or spring lever, step. Both embodiments are disclosed in the claim combination. The embodiment fibers, biasing means, spring lever, step is disclosed in paragraph 18. There is no disclosure of the embodiment fibers, biasing means, cable, weight, step. No step in paragraph 19. As this non-disclosed embodiment is specifically covered by the amended claim, there is added subject matter over the original disclosure in contravention of Article 1232. Next, 16.3. 16.3 is true. A door leaf 1A having a stepped edge is disclosed in paragraph 17, and paragraph 18 discloses a door closer 12 biasing the door leaf into the closed position. Hence, a stepped door leaf in combination with a biasing means is disclosed in the description. 16.3 needs some comment. The claim combination is fibers, biasing means with a predetermined position, step. In paragraph 18, we have a door closer biasing the door leaf 1A into the closed position, plus there is a step. This is a disclosure of a door closer biasing the door leaf into a predetermined position, namely the closed position, in combination with a stepped edge. The claim combination is disclosed in paragraph 18, therefore based on the description. There is no added subject matter. The claim combination complies with Article 1232 EPC. I'll discuss an alternative approach leading to the answer false in the general comments. This alternative approach takes the point of view that the amended claim covers a sliding door with a stepped edge, which is not disclosed. I'll discuss in detail later. In the meantime, we'll discuss 16.4. (16.4) is false. The examiner's explanation runs as follows. In the whole description, it is only disclosed to cover a solid wood plate with a metal material. There is no disclosure to cover any other fibrous plate having other fibers than wood fibers with a metal material. Hence, an amendment of the dependency of Claim 1.5 to be dependent from Claim 1.1 instead of Claim 1.2 would contravene Article 1232 EPC. Be careful. D1 discloses a fibrous material coated with metal. You may have the impression that a fibrous material coated with metal is known, but D1 is prior art, not part of the disclosure of the invention. Don't confuse the prior art with the invention. Next are some comments on the examiner's report for question 16. It can be difficult to decide whether or not an amendment complies with Article 1232. The case law is full of examples where the first and second instances come to opposite decisions on this. Here is what the guidelines H Roman 4 2.2 say, and I quote from the guidelines. An amendment should be regarded as introducing subject matter which extends beyond the content of the application as filed and therefore unallowable if the overall change in the content of the application, whether by way of addition, alteration, or excision, results in the skilled person being presented with information which is not directly and unambiguously derivable from that previously presented in the application, even when account is taken of matter which is implicit to a person skilled in the art. The principle in the guidelines is clear, but it allows for some leeway in its application. Next, we'll consider the novelty test, which is clearer but is not universally acceptable. The guidelines GLH Roman 4 2.2 adds to the previous statement, at least where the amendment is by way of addition, the test for its allowability normally corresponds to the test for novelty. The novelty test approach involves comparing the subject matter of the amendment with the original disclosure. If the subject matter of the amendment is notionally novel over the original disclosure, this is a sign that the amendment contains subject matter that extends beyond the original disclosure in contravention of Article 1232. The novelty test is clearer and is easier to implement, but it applies mainly to amendments by way of addition, not broadening amendments. Next, I consider the mentioned alternative approach to question 16.3. As we saw for question 16.2, paragraph 17's stepped door leaf is only possible in pivoting doors. However, a biasing means having a cable and a weight is only disclosed in paragraph 19 and in figure 3 in conjunction with a sliding door. For question 16.3, the amended claims biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position covers the two described embodiments. The amended claim therefore covers a combination of a sliding door with a stepped edge which is not disclosed in the description as filed. Following this approach, the answer would be false. This is a typical opponent's approach. It is based on the consideration that the implied coverage of the amended claim presents information which is not directly derivable from the original disclosure. In Claim 1.7, the biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position is interpreted to mean suitable for biasing the door into a predetermined position, be it a closed position or an open position or any predetermined position. This claim in its amended combination does not directly disclose any specific predetermined position, which indicates that the alternative approach is probably wrong. Next, we consider a new situation for questions 17 to 20. For the remaining questions, the situation is that a European patent based upon the same invention has been granted. The granted patent has a claim set, claims 2.1 to 2.7, plus an auxiliary request claim for question 20. An opposition has been filed. Documents D1 and D2 and D3 have been filed in the opposition, and these are the same documents that we saw previously. For the opposed claim set, see the client's question. I'll show the respective claims with the various questions. Next, 17.1. Answer true or false. D1 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.1. D1's picture is there, and claim 2.1 is there. Claim 2.1 reads, door leaf for a fire protection door comprising a plate containing wood fibers characterized in that the major surfaces of the plate are fully covered with an aluminium layer. The question presupposes that claim 2.1 is novel over D1, so we have to find out what is novel about it. D1 has all of the features of the claim except for the fact that the plate surfaces are covered by a metal or steel layer, not an aluminium layer. We have to determine whether D1 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.1, and this requires a consideration of whether D2 and D3 are less close. Consider the closeness of the three pieces of prior art and come to your decision, true or false, and then we go to 17.2. For 17.2, answer true or false. D2 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.5. Claim 2.5 depends upon claim 2.4. We have the D2 door is shown there. Claim 2.4 reads door, especially a fire protection door, the door having a door leaf, a door frame, and a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. The door leaf comprising a plate containing wood fibers wherein the major surfaces of the plate are at least partially covered with an aluminium layer. And claim 2.5 reads door according to claim 2.4 wherein the plate is made of solid wood and the door has a door closer and is a pivoting door, wherein the door leaf is pivotably connected to the door frame by means of hinges. Once again, the question presupposes that the claim 2.5 is novel over D2, and for this we can work out that D2 has all of the features of claim 2.4 except the aluminium layer, and it has all of the features of claim 2.5. For D2 to be the closest prior art, D1 and D3 need to be less close, so consider the three pieces of prior art, come to your decision, and then we will turn to question 17.3, sorry. Here the question is, Answer true or false. The subject matter of claim 2.4 is disclosed in D3. We see the figure of D3 there. And here we have claim 2.4. Claim 2.4 reads, door, especially fire protection door, the door having a door leaf, a door frame, and a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. The door leaf comprising a plate containing wood fibers, wherein the major surfaces of the plate are at least partially covered with an aluminium layer. Now, we have to consider the features of D3, whether D3 discloses the subject matter of claim 2.4. D3 is an emergency exit door that is biased open. What does especially fire protection door mean in the claim? Does D3's door contain wood fibers? See paragraph 4, thin board containing fibers such as cardboard. Does D3 have aluminium covering layers? Can you remember or look it up? See paragraph 4. Is D3 covered by claim 2.4? Make up your mind, true or false, and we'll come to the answer shortly. 17.4. Here the question is once again on closest prior art. 17.4 reads, D3 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.7. Here we have claim 2.4 and claim 2.7, which depends upon claim 2.4. And we have the D3's figure. Claim 2.4 is door, especially fire protection door, the door having a door leaf, a door frame, and a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. The door leaf comprising a plate containing wood fibers, wherein the major surfaces of the plate are at least partially covered with an aluminium layer. And 2.7 is fire protection door, according to claim 2.4, wherein the biasing means is a door closer comprising a cable and a weight for biasing the door leaf into the closed position. And we have to determine whether D3 is the closest prior art for this particular claim. D3 seems to contain all of the features of claim 2.4, and it seems to contain all of the features of claim 2.7, except that it's not a fire protection door because it's an emergency exit door, and it has a door closer comprising a cable and a weight and so on. So we have to determine whether D3 is the closest, containing all these features, is the closest prior art, or whether D1 or D2 would be closer prior art for this claim. Come to your decision, and then we'll go to the examiner's report for question 17. The answers are 17.1, true, D1 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.1. 17.2 is true, D2 is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.5. 17.3 is true, the subject matter of claim 11.4 is disclosed in D3, and 17.4 is false. D3 is not the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.7. Let's go to the examiner's report for their explanations. So the examiners say that 17.1 is true because claim 2.1 relates to a door leaf for a fire protection door. From the cited prior art, D1 is the only document which clearly relates to a door leaf for a fire protection door and comprises a plate containing wood fibres wherein major surfaces of the plate are covered by metal layers. Hence, D1 relates to door leaves for the same purpose and is the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.1. For 17.2, which is also true, the examiners say D2 is the only document relating to pivoting doors with a plate of solid wood and a door closer. D2 is the closest prior art with respect to claim 2.5. For 17.1, by comparison with D1, D2's major surfaces are not covered by metal layers. D3's emergency exit door is not suitable for a fire protection door. D2 and D3 are clearly not as close as D1. I also add for 17.2, by comparison with D2, D1 is not a pivoting door and does not have a plate of solid wood. D3 is a sliding door and does not have a plate of solid wood. D1 and D3 are clearly not as close as D2. Now we go to 17.3 and 17.4. The examiners say for 17.3 being true, D3 relates to emergency exit doors. D3 discloses in paragraph 3 and in the figure a sliding door 501 with a door frame 502 and a biasing means 503, 504, wherein the door leaf 501 is made of cardboard and wherein the major surfaces are covered with an aluminium layer. As indicated in D1 paragraph 3, cardboard comprises wood fibers. The term especially fire protection door in claim 2.4 is not limiting. D3 implicitly discloses the subject matter of claim 2.4. And for 17.4, although the subject matter of claim 2.4 is not novel over D3, and although claim 2.7 is dependent from claim 2.4, D3 is not the closest prior art with regard to claim 2.7 because D3 is directed to a door for another purpose and D1 and D2 are directed to fire protection doors, so these documents are closer prior art. Claim 2.7 is limited to fire protection doors. 17.3 seems to be clear. Note that the cardboard conundrum that we saw in question 15.2 comes up again. Does D3's cardboard contain wood fibers? Question mark. Note also that an implicit disclosure is a disclosure. When the question was, does it disclose? And the examiners say it implicitly discloses. For 17.4, claim 2.7 is for a fire protection door. D3's door is an emergency exit door, which is not a fire protection door. D1 and D2 are fire protection doors, therefore more relevant. Now for some comments of my own. In my opinion, this year's questions on closest prior art seem to be straightforward. However, please note, in papers B and C, the examiners always make an issue about candidates not providing convincing reasons for the choice of the closest prior art. The point is that you must not justify the choice simply by repeating stock phrases from the case law, like because it pursues the same aim or because it is a springboard or things like that. You have to put in a factual reason explaining what is the aim of the prior document in common with the claim in question. Note that in their explanations, the examiners do provide factual reasons for the choice of the closest prior art. So be careful how you explain why a particular document is the closest prior art. It's going to be important in the future. Next, we turn to questions 18.1 and 18.2. Here you have to answer true or false. For 18.1, a technical effect of the solid wood plate of claim 2.2 is reducing the tendency of the door leaf to bend in the event of fire. And 18.2 is a technical effect of the solid wood plate of claim 2.2 is providing heat insulation. The claim 2.2 is a door leaf according to claim 2.1, wherein the material of the plate includes solid wood and the material is such that it delivers moisture when heated, and 2.1 is that it contains wood fibers characterized in the major surfaces of the plate are covered with an aluminium layer. So what does the client's description say about the resistance to bending of solid wood of claim 2.2? Make up your mind. 18.2 is heat insulation. What does the client's description say about the heat insulating effect of solid wood? Make up your mind whether these are technical effects of the particular features. Let's go to 18.3. And 18.4. Answer true or false. The technical effect, 18.3, the technical effect of the biasing means of claim 2.3 is to ensure that the door is always closed in case of fire. If we jump to claim 2.3, we see that 2.3 is a door leaf according to claim 2.2, a door frame and a biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position, and it depends on 2.2, which is moisture, and it depends upon 2.1, which is the aluminium layer. But the technical effect of the biasing means of claim 2.3, notice that biasing means for biasing the door into a predetermined position. Does this ensure that the door is always closed in case of fire? That's 18.3. 18.4 is the wood fibers of the solid wood plate of claim 2.2 and the aluminium layer of claim 2.1 do not show a functional interaction to achieve a combined technical effect. So the solid wood plate of claim 2.2, it's in claim 2.2 is a solid wood plate, and the aluminium layer of claim 2.1 is in claim 2.1. The major surfaces are coated by aluminium layer. Do they or do they not? Does the aluminium layer and the solid wood have a combined technical effect, a functional interaction to achieve a combined technical effect? And for that, you have to obviously consult the description to determine whether there is a possible combined technical effect. So I suggest you go to the description and try and work it out and make up your mind, and then we'll check if you've come to the right answer. Let's go then to the examiner's answers for question 18. 18.1 is true. Reducing bend is a technical effect of a solid wood plate. 18.2 is true. Providing heat insulation is a technical effect. 18.3 is false. The biasing means does not always keep the door closed. 18.4 is false. Wood fibers and aluminium achieve a combined effect. Here are the answers followed by so check your answers and we will go to the explanations. (18.1) is true. Solid wood is resistant to bending, paragraph 6. Hence, one technical effect of the solid wood is reducing the tendency of the door leaf to bend in the event of fire. 18.2 is true. A further technical effect of the user plate made of solid wood is providing heat insulation. See paragraph 7. All should be clear and require no further explanation. Note that technical effects of claimed features are inevitably found in the counterpart explanation in the description. Now we go to 18.3, the examiner's comments. Examiners explain that 18.3 is false because, or for the following reasons. While a door closer of a fire protection door ensures that the door is always closed in case of fire, paragraph 2, this is not true for a biasing means, biasing the door leaf into any predetermined position. See, for example, D3, and note that claim 2.3 does not specify that the door is a fire protection door. As my comment is, as claim 2.3 is not limited to a fire protection door, it covers other types of door where it is not necessary to bias the door closed in case of fire. Claim 2.3 biases the door into any predetermined position, so the technical effect of the biasing means of claim 2.3 is therefore not to ensure that the door is always closed in case of fire. The examiners continue. 18.4 is false. The aluminium layer protects from drying out. The examiners say see above. Hence, it helps to keep the moisture in the wood fibers. This is a combined technical effect. And I add the wood fibers of the solid plate of claim 2.2 and the aluminium layer of claim 2.3 show a functional interaction to achieve a combined technical effect. The aluminium protecting the wooden plate from drying out in paragraph 16, line 4. Alternatively, you could say that there is a combined cooling effect. Now to some explanations for the examiner's report for question 18. Question 18 relates to technical effects. In the problem solution approach, the technical effect is associated with the claim's distinguishing features. You can find the technical effect in the application's description, usually in the counterpart to the claim. Note that the technical effect must always be closely correlated with the claim features. Compare this with question 18.3, where the claim biasing means did not provide the full technical effect. Next are questions 19.1 and 19.2. Here we have questions 19.1 and 19.2. I have shown the figure of D1 and claim 2.2 that depends on claim 2.1. Answer true or false. 19.1. An element of the objective technical problem solved by the subject matter of claim 2.2 over D1 is to simplify the construction. 19.2. An element of the objective technical problem solved by the subject matter of claim 2.2 over D1 is to provide fire protection doors imitating the appearance of ancient doors. To determine the technical problem solved, we have to identify the distinguishing feature of claim 2.2 over D1 and the technical effects associated with a differentiating feature. A differentiating feature is solid wood. The effect is to overcome the drawbacks of the prior art, paragraphs 6 and 5. Paragraphs 3 and 4 correspond to the description of D1. The question is then, do any of the disadvantages listed imply a simplification which would justify the answer for question 19.1? And then for the ancient doors, what about the appearance of ancient doors? What does that imply? Make up your mind and we'll go to questions 19.3 and 19.4. 19.3 and 19.4 are about reasons for not combining or for combining two prior art documents in an inventive step attack. 19.3 is answer true or false, a valid argument as to why a skilled person would not combine D1 and D2 to arrive at the subject matter of claim 2.2 is that D1 is a patent document and D2 is a journal in the field of vintage art. And 19.4, the statement is a valid argument as to why a skilled person would combine D1 and D2 is that D1 discloses a door leaf for a fire protection door, and D2 teaches that a solid wood plate is a suitable material that prevents propagation of fire. The two questions seem to be complementary in a way, and for the vintage door one, I'm fairly convinced that if an average European patent attorney were confronted with an EPO examiner who argued the combination of D1 and D2, you would be probably inclined to argue that the combination based on the vintage, argue against the combination based on the vintage art approach. But the question is that a valid reason? The advantages of solid wood are set out in paragraph 7. What does D2 teach for solid wood? So let's revert to the examiner's report and we'll find out the answers to those questions. Here we have, according to the examiner's statement, 19.1 is true. Simplifying construction is part of the objective problem. 19.2 is false. Imitating ancient doors is not part of the objective problem. 19.3 is false. It is not a valid reason to not combine D1 and D2. 19.4 is true. It is a valid reason to combine D1 and D2. We'll turn to the examiner's report. 19.1. True. In the last sentence of paragraph 3 of D1, it is mentioned that the construction of the fire protection door of D1 is complicated because of the necessity to insert a frame structure for stiffening. Solid wood has less tendency to bend. A frame is not necessary. Hence, it is an element of the objective problem solved by the subject matter of claim 2.2 over D1 to simplify the construction. 19.2 is false. Providing a plate of solid wood per se does not provide a fire protection door simulating the same appearance as an ancient door. especially if covered by an aluminium layer. Hence, providing fire protection doors simulating the same appearance as ancient doors is not an element of the objective technical problem solved by the subject matter of Claim 2.2. For statement 19.1, I find that the examiner's explanation of simplification is both plausible and well-based. For 19.2, I note that the appearance of an ancient door would be regarded as non-technical, but providing a door with the appearance of an ancient door could solve a technical problem. Note that paragraph 15 of the description mentions that even very old buildings can be protected by the fire protection doors, imitating the appearance of ancient doors, but this statement is completely out of tune with the claim, i.e. it is not a necessary result of the claim. Claim 2.2 does not provide, nor does it provide, fire protection doors imitating the appearance of ancient doors. Next, 19.3. The state of the art, 19.3 is false. The state of the art for the purposes of considering inventive step is defined in Article 52.2 EPC. Both documents D1 and D2 clearly belong to the state of the art, and the skilled person is presumed to have access to anything in the state of the art. Although D2 is a vintage art journal, it describes door technology. Further, the skilled person is expected to look for suggestions in neighbouring and general technical fields. Hence, the nature of publication of the documents D1 and D2 is no valid argument against combining them. 19.4 is true. D1 discloses a fire protection door, and the skilled person learns from D2 that a solid wood plate is a suitable material to be used in door leaves for fire protection door. This is a valid argument that the skilled person would combine D1 and D2. In short, for the vintage journal issue, the publication in a vintage journal is not a valid argument against making the combination, and we'll discuss that later again. For 19.4, I came to a wrong answer for that question based on a misunderstanding of the question itself, and I'll discuss that in my comments below. Here are some comments on the examiner's report and explanations for question 19.3. In short, the publication in a vintage journal is not a valid argument against making the combination. You may have come to this correct answer by gut feeling. I tried to find a justification. There is a justification in the guidelines G Roman 7.2, which states the state of the art for considering inventive step is as defined in Article 54.2. Combining pieces of prior art is discussed in guidelines G Roman 7.6, but there is no discussion whatsoever about vintage or old prior art, so it doesn't give you any help. So you had to make up your mind, I think, under your own steam for this answer. The examiners stated that the skilled person looks for guidance in the same technical field or neighbouring technical fields. And in fact, the vintage publication is in the same technical field, doors with a fire protection effect, so he will definitely look there. Next is my explanation how I came to a wrong answer on question 19.4. This was based on the misunderstanding that the proposed combination for question 19.4 was to come to the subject matter of claim 2.2 as was stated for question 19.3. My reasoning was that D1 and D2 would not be combined because the combination of D1 and D2 does not lead to the subject matter of claim 2.2. Neither document discloses an aluminium layer, and it would not be obvious to replace D1's metal enclosed calcium silicate plate with D2's wooden plate with decorative metal bands. However, even if my reasoning may be correct, the answer is wrong because the question only asks for a valid reason for combining the documents and was not concerned with the outcome of a potential combination. Note that opponents frequently cite combinations of documents that fail. The fact that a combination may lead to a failed attack for lack of inventive step does not mean that the documents cannot be combined, so be careful. Read the question attentively before you make your analysis and put down your answer. Next, we turn to the situation for question 20. The patent has now been defended in the opposition, and the following independent claim has been proposed as an auxiliary request, although it doesn't. I'll read the claim out to you, although the whole claim doesn't really come into the questions that are asked later. Fire protection door comprising a door leaf, a door frame, and a door closer. The door leaf comprising a plate made of solid wood. Wherein the door is a pivoting door, and wherein the door leaf is pivotably connected to the door frame by means of hinges, characterized in that A. The major surfaces of the plate are fully covered with an aluminium layer. B. The material of the plate is treated such that it releases moisture when heated. And C. The door leaf has a stepped edge engageable with a step in the door frame. The opponent has cited D2 as the closest prior art with regard to this claim. This is important for the remaining questions. The opponent acknowledges that the subject matter of the claim of the auxiliary request differs from D2 by the characterizing portion of the claim. The opponent defines the objective problem with regard to D2 as to enhance the fire protection function of a fire protection door. So now we have a situation during the opposition, and we'll go to question 20.1. Here is question 20.1 and the given objective problem. Answer true or false whether the statement is a valid argument as to why it is not obvious to solve the stated objective technical problem by the features of the claim, and the objective problem with regard to D2 is to enhance the fire protection function of a fire protection door. 20.1. The statement of 20.1 is, although D3 discloses a door leaf covered with an aluminium layer, there is no teaching in D3 that this could improve a fire protection function. So D2's fire protection door is shown at the top, and D3's safety escape exit door is shown underneath. What does D3 have to say about fire protection? So make up your mind and say whether or not this is a valid argument why it is not obvious to solve the technical problem by the features of the claim. Then we go to 20.2. We have a similar statement. Answer whether, let's see, statement 20.2 is, although D1 discloses a material such that it delivers moisture when heated, there is no teaching that solid wood of D2 could replace the material of D1. and you have to answer whether that is a valid argument why it is not obvious to solve the stated technical problem. Strange that in statement 20.2 the question inverts the normal sequence of problem and solution argument, because D2 is the acknowledged closest prior art and not D1. So make up your mind whether that argument is valid, and we'll turn to 20.3. 22.3 and 20.4 are both about whether the argument is not obvious to solve the stated technical problem by the features of the claim. The figures show D2, the closest prior art, and D1, the secondary prior art. 20.3 statement reads, although the figure of D1 shows a small step on the side of the door leaf due to an overlap of metal sheets, this step is only because two edge portions of the metal sheets overlap. There is no teaching to combine a step in a door leaf with a step in a door frame to come to a better sealed cap. So we have to determine whether that is a good argument for non-obviousness of the claim. For 20.4, the statement in 20.4 is D1 teaches away from using aluminium in fire protection doors. We have to consult D1 to see what it says about teaching away from aluminium, using aluminium in fire protection doors. So you have to work that out by going back to D1 to see what D1 says. We know that aluminium melts at 600 degrees and steel is a higher melting point. So make up your mind, and we'll turn to the examiner's answers for question 20. So for question 20, 20.1 is true. This is a valid argument for non-obviousness. For 20.2, the examiner said that the answer is false, but exceptionally, they also accepted a true answer for that, and we'll have to look at their report to see about that. 20.3 is true. It's a valid argument for non-obviousness, and 20.4 is true. It's a valid argument for non-obviousness. How did you do? 20.2 is special because the examiners accepted both answers, and we'll discuss that later. Now to the examiner's reasoning for 20.1. 20.1 is true. D3 discloses a sliding door 500 where the major surfaces thereof can be covered with aluminium layers. No technical reason is given for the covering with aluminium, and it seems that it is only for design purposes. Further, D3 relates to an emergency exit door and gives no indication at all for a functionality for fire protection. Thus, although D3 discloses a door covered with an aluminium layer, there is no teaching in D3 that this could improve the fire protection function. Paragraph 4 of D3 suggests that the layers of aluminium on light and thin board can be used as the door is only used as an emergency exit door. As the examiners conclude, there is no teaching that this could improve the fire protection function, which was the objective problem over D2. The argument pattern, however, follows the problem and solution structure. Let's go to 20.2. 20.2, the answer is false, but the examiners also accepted the true answer. Their statement is as follows. D1 discloses a calcium silicate plate wherein calcium silicate can release water when heated. The filling of D1 is a cardboard containing calcium silicate. No alternatives are given. The statement 20.2 indicates that the material of D2 should replace the material of D1. This is not a valid argument within the framework of the problem solution approach, since D2 and not D1 is the closest prior art document. Hence, the answer to 20.2 is false. The examiners continue. The formulation of 20.2 was, however, unnecessarily complex. Just by using the expression D2 could be replaced by instead of D2 could replace, the solution would become true, since there is no teaching that solid wood could be replaced by the material of D1. For this reason, it is exceptionally decided to award marks for an answer true as well. When you apply the problem solution approach, you start from the closest prior art, here D2, and argue that the teaching of the secondary prior art, here D1, can be applied to the closest prior art. Question 20.2 inverts this and argues that there is no teaching that the solid wood of CP closest prior art D2 could replace the material of the secondary prior art D1. Irrespective of whether the postulated argument would succeed, the question concerns the validity of the argument with reference to the objective technical problem and to enhance the fire protection function of the fire protection door starting from D2. The validity of the argument has to be judged relative to the application of the problem solution approach, and the answer is clearly no or false. I'll discuss the examiner's alternative formulation later. Now I'll turn to the examiner's comments for 20.3 and 20.4. D1 20.3. True, D1 discloses that a door leaf for a fire protection door which is formed from two metal sheets that overlap at the side of the door leaf. There is no teaching how a door frame could be constructed. Hence, although the figure of D1 shows a small step on the side of the door leaf to an overlap of the metal sheets, this step is only because the two edge portions of the metal sheets overlap. There is no teaching to combine a step in a door with a step in a door frame to come to a better sealed door gap. And 20.4 is also true, as stated as follows. D1 discloses in paragraph 2 that the preferred metal is steel because of its high melting point above 1300 centigrade. And it is further mentioned that this has the advantage that the metal of the door can withstand normal temperatures occurring during fire and maintain its stiffness even at higher temperatures. This leads away from the use of aluminium, which melts away in the event of fire. Hence, D1 teaches away from using aluminium in fire protection doors. It seems to me that in both cases the argument for non-obviousness is clear and it should succeed, and the argument implements the structure of an argument following the problem solution approach, i.e. no teaching to combine the teaching of the secondary document with the closest prior art. Now some comments on the examiner's explanations. The four statements of question 20 were about the validity of arguments against the obviousness of a claim, taking into account the objective problem formulated by the opponent with D2 as closest prior art. 20.1, 20.2, 20.1, 20.3 and 20.4 presented plausible arguments, all according to the framework of the problem and solution approach, considering possible combinations of the teaching of secondary documents with the closest prior art D2. 20.2 presented a plausible argument outside the framework of the problem-solution approach, instead arguing to combine the teaching of the closest prior art with the secondary document. It's obvious from the examiner's report that they consider a valid argument for or against inventive step must follow the prescribed format of the problem-solution approach. So remember, you are being tested on your correct application of the problem and solution approach. Now, more comments on the correct answer for 20.2. The correct answer for 20.2, in my opinion, is false. When you apply the problem-solution approach, you start from the closest prior art, here D2, and argue that the teaching of the secondary prior art, here D1, can be applied to the closest prior art. Question 20.2 inverts this and argues that there is no teaching that the solid wood of the closest prior art could replace the material of the secondary prior art, D1. Irrespective of whether the postulated argument would succeed, the validity of the argument is being judged relative to the application of the problem-solution approach because the question implies a valid argument with reference to the objective technical problem. The question, as formulated, leads to the analysis that there was no teaching of wood. The wood of D2 could replace the material of D1 as an argument for non-obviousness, which encouraged some candidates to reply true. However, we are not supposed to judge whether the argument will succeed, but whether it is a valid argument under the problem-solution approach. Numerous opponents use a shotgun approach, which sometimes succeeds, but is not in accordance with the problem-solution approach, and is therefore not a valid argument. Next, some comments on the alternative accepted by the examiners. For question 20.2, the examiners decided exceptionally to award marks for the non-expected true answer as well as the expected false answer. Their justification included the following statements. The formulation of 20.2 was, however, unnecessarily complex. However, I found no evidence for this. Second statement was, just by using the expression D2 could be replaced by instead of D2 could replace, the solution would become true, since there is no teaching that solid wood could be replaced by the material of D1. In my opinion, this is not a simple linguistic correction. It completely and artificially changes the question. I don't believe the question should be notionally rewritten in this way. A more likely explanation is that true answers were made because there is no teaching that the material of D1 could be replaced by solid wood, implying that this reason was valid because it could succeed. To me, the justification of the examiner's exceptional decision seems to be weak or questionable. However, they must have had a drastic rethink to take such a step. This brings us to the end of the claim analysis questions for the 2015 exam. I would like on the next slide to make a summary of the learning outcomes for these questions. For the 2014 claim analysis pre-exam, there were many different things to be learned. Therefore, I encourage you to follow the tutorial for the 2014 exam if you have not already done so. Next, we consider some learning outcomes. Here I've put the learning outcome and where it was tested in the 2015 exam. First learning outcome was clarity and support, which was tested in question 11. Clarity is very important. You must know exactly what is covered by the claim or what is outside the claim. Necessary or unnecessary limitations were dealt with in question 12. you can avoid unnecessary limitations in your claims by making the features non-essential, by using words such as preferably and so on in the description. So be very careful with unnecessary limitations to your claims. Implicit features is dealt with in questions 12.4 and 15.2. Just note my advice that to avoid implicit features if you want to keep out of trouble. Novelty or lack of novelty is dealt with in questions 13 to 15. Remember that demonstrating lack of novelty or demonstrating novelty are asymmetric operations. To demonstrate lack of novelty, you have to show that each and every feature is there. To demonstrate novelty, you just have to point out the differentiating feature. Claim embodiments were discussed in question 14. Assessing the coverage of claim embodiments boils down to the same thing as assessing novelty. Amendments were discussed in question 16. Amendments by addition can be managed fairly easily by the novelty test, but broadening amendments are much more difficult to handle. Closest prior art comes in question 17. You have to cultivate using factual arguments for justifying the choice of closest prior art and not use stock phrases. Technical effects come in question 18. The technical effects you need to complete a problem solution presentation are to be found in the description, and this is very useful for processing the opposition paper C. The objective problem was the subject of questions 19.1 and 19.2. The objective problem is based on the technical effect achieved by the claim's distinguishing feature over the closest prior art. Note that expression of the objective problem is somewhat subjective. Questions 19.3 and 19.4 disclose combining documents. Documents can be combined if there is some incentive for the combination, even if the combination falls short. And arguments for inventive step came up in question 20. You should always formulate your arguments for or against inventive step using the problem solution format, starting from the closest prior art. So, what is next? The pre-exam claim analysis questions provide you with a very good foundation for several papers of the EQE. For drafting paper A, for claim formulations, novelty, clarity, claim scope. For the reply paper B, amendments under Article 1232, EPC, novelty and inventive step problem and solution approach. For the opposition paper C, lack of novelty, lack of inventive step problem and solution approach. Also, claims with alternatives are a favorite in the opposition paper, where you have to usually attack both alternatives. So I'd wish you good luck with the next pre-exam and with your continuation in the EQE. Finally, some closing words. This brings our tutorial on patent claim analysis 2015 to an end. I hope it has been of value to you for preparing for the next pre-exam or as a foundation for tackling the main papers. Be on the lookout for upcoming tutorials on other EQE subjects that will be announced on patskillsblogspot.com. For further guidance on EQE preparation, you can consult, and I recommend that you do consult, the book EQE Comprehensive, available from shopmybooks.com, search word Patskills. À bientôt.